I'd like to point out to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, because I firmly believe that if Miss Marten were a Republican or was being nominated by a Republican president, they'd line up in opposition against you. First, I don't believe my colleagues on the other side of the aisle would support a Republican nominee who was superintendent of a school district with large disparities on how minority and white students were disciplined. According to an article in the Los Angeles Times in 2018-19 school year, black students in San Diego Unified were suspended more than 3 times as often as white students, and they accounted for 18% of the students suspended, despite making up only 8% of the student body. Second, I don't believe my colleagues on the other side of the aisle would support a Republican nominee who disability advocates claimed has been, and I quote, difficult to deal with in terms of transparency and sharing information with families of students with special needs, as Disability Rights California claimed about you. In fact, your district's been sued for denying students with accommodations reimbursements they are entitled to receive under their individual education plans, or IEPs. And your district's been investigated by the Federal Department of Education for civil rights violations against students with disabilities. Third, I think my colleagues would vigorously question a Republican nominee who oversaw a school district where top-level administrators were trained on how to delete emails from the public record in violation of state public records laws, as local news reports have claimed occurred in your school district. And furthermore, they'd be skeptical about a nominee whose San Diego Society of Professional Journalists gave the San Diego Unified its Wall Award, given to public officials or agencies that most ignored media requests or otherwise compromised public's right to know. The journalist noted that San Diego Unified withheld documents about student safety and missing inventory items that other school districts delivered in weeks and ignored repeated requests to meet in person. Fourth, I'm sure that you would express concerns about a nominee heading a school district that was currently defending itself against a lawsuit filed by former students alleging that the district was negligent for failing to take appropriate action upon receiving sexual harassment complaints against its employees. Or a nominee facing a lawsuit seeking the nominee's termination as superintendent due to their alleged neglect and bullying of previous victims of sexual abuse. Finally, I can picture the letter demanding testimony from the local NAACP that not only publicly opposed such a nomination, but stated that the nominee has, I quote, been an ineffective leader of California's second largest school district and is ill-equipped for the tremendous responsibility of serving the needs of your entire nation's young learners. NAACP San Diego branch president Francine Maxwell has gone so far as to express she is greatly disturbed by the prospect of Superintendent Marten being elevated to a position of national significance and import while leaving some of the country's most vulnerable children in increasingly difficult situations. So I'm glad to see that my Democratic friends have abandoned their guilty upon nomination stance that they've taken for the last 4 years. And I hope they will reflect on the damage they did to the Senate by opposing any and all nominees, basically just because they accepted a nomination from the last president.